dry beer is Rheingold, the dry beer. Friendly.
You remember the sound, that crisp hiss of a bottle cap hitting the driveway? Your dad, shirtless in a lawn chair. The sun was hot, the grill was smoking, and in his hand, a Miller High Life, or maybe Falstaff. Names that meant nothing fancy, just familiar. Back then, beer had a taste and a place. In backyards, on front porches, at family cookouts where the uncles drank and the kids snuck sips when nobody looked. Most of those beers are gone, but somehow they never really left us. Let's open one more and see what comes back. He'd crack one open the moment the mower stopped. Miller High Life, clear bottle, gold foil top, cold from the fridge in the garage. It wasn't about being fancy. It was just what dads drank when the work was done and the grill was hot. They called it the champagne of beers, but to us it tasted like summer, like porch swings and mosquito buzz. Even the ads felt brighter back then. Glasses clinking, laughter in slow motion. You can still find it today, sure, but that moment, that's what's gone. All that's left is a label and the memory it brings back. You'd hear it before you saw it. The hiss of a Falstaff can cracking open next to a metal lunch pail. Red and white, no nonsense. It was the beer of factory workers, uncles, and next-door neighbors who didn't care for fancy labels. Named after a jolly drunk from Shakespeare, it had a working man's soul. You'd find it in coolers at cookouts, stacked in garage fridges, passed between hands after clocking out. It was everywhere. And just like that, it wasn't. The brand faded, the signs came down. But close your eyes and maybe you still see it, glowing in the window of a bar that no longer exists. Ballantine Ale had a look you couldn't forget. That green glass bottle with the triple ring logo sitting on a bar coaster next to a pack of Lucky Strikes. It was bold, bitter, and proud of it. In the 50s and 60s, it wasn't just common, it was everywhere. Ballparks, taverns, even TV ads with deep-voiced announcers calling it the ale with flavor. Your dad might have ordered one while Sinatra played on the jukebox. It tasted grown-up, sharp, rich, almost too much for a first sip, but that was the point. It made you feel like you'd arrived. Today, Ballantine still exists, but barely. What's left isn't the same. The old flavor's gone, but that bottle, that logo, still hits you like a song you haven't heard in 50 years. You couldn't miss it. Bright orange can, Billy Carter's name scribbled across the front like a promise. In 1977, Billy Beer hit shelves with more hype than flavor. Named after President Jimmy Carter's brother, it showed up everywhere. Corner stores, gas stations, 4th of July cookouts. He even signed a message on each can. But here's the kicker. Billy reportedly preferred Pabst. The beer? It was okay. But for a brief moment, it felt like America was in on the joke. By 78, it was fading fast. Today, it's more collector's item than cold one. But maybe you still have one, tucked in a box, behind old baseball cards. Proof that even a joke beer can outlive the punchline.
My beer is Rheingold, the dry beer.
If you grew up in the 50s or 60s, you heard that jingle everywhere. On radios, TVs, maybe humming from your dad while he grilled on the roof. Rheingold wasn't flashy, but it had loyal fans. Crisp, clean. A dry beer with just enough bite to cut the summer heat. In New York especially, it was the beer, served in diners, delis, and ballparks. The Miss Rheingold pageant was a big deal too. Every year, folks voted for their favorite girl to grace the label. But by the late 70s, bigger names edged it out. Today, it's long gone. Still, that jingle lives somewhere in your mind, like a song from a summer afternoon, playing faintly behind the static. From the land of sky-blue waters. That jingle played like a lullaby on Midwest radios, and the Hamm's bear. He was everywhere, dancing across your TV in black and white. For many of us, Hamm's wasn't just a beer, it was part of the family fridge. Dad kept a few cans cold in the garage. On summer weekends, they ended up in the red picnic cooler next to the potato salad. The taste was clean, light, easy, nothing fancy, but somehow it stuck. You can still buy Hamm's today, but the magic's gone. The bear's gone. The ads are gone. And that sound, the ripple of a lake, the clink of cans in a cooler, the quiet hum of a Saturday afternoon, that's the part no one bottles anymore. It's the water. That was the line. Short, simple, everywhere. Olympia Beer built its whole identity around that slogan, brewed with artesian spring water from Tumwater, Washington. Folks swore they could taste the difference. It had a soft, clean finish, perfect after a long day fishing, chopping wood, or just watching the rain roll in. In the Pacific Northwest, it was more than a beer. It was a badge of local pride. You'd see it stacked in mom-and-pop bars, tailgate coolers, even corner stores off logging roads. But like so many classics, Olympia faded as big brands took over. Production stopped in 2021. The water's still there, but the cans are gone. And for those who remember that taste, so is a little piece of home. It started with a hiss and a click. In 1935, Krueger's Cream Ale became the first beer ever sold in a can, and everything changed. No more waiting at the bar or hauling bottles. You popped the top with a church key, heard that sharp metallic snap, and suddenly, beer was portable. For a while, Krueger's was everywhere. Lunch counters, corner stores, factory break rooms. It was smooth, light, and easy to like. But by the early 60s, the big brands took over. Krueger's faded quietly, its name slipping off shelves like a whisper. Still, if you ever held one of those old flat-top cans, cool to the touch, simple in design, you remember how modern it felt, like the future had arrived, in your hand. Before IPAs took over the world, there was Pete's Wicked Ale. Launched in 1986, it showed up in neighborhood pubs with its bold purple label and malty, full-bodied flavor. For many of us, it was our first taste of craft beer, something richer, darker, and way more grown up than the usual light stuff. You'd walk into a bar, see it scribbled on the chalkboard menu, and think, okay, what's this? It wasn't just a beer, it was a signal that you were trying something different, something smarter. But by the 2000s, Pete's was fading, bought out, reformulated, forgotten. Still, if you remember that first sip, the surprise, the slight bitterness, the grin, you remember a moment when beer got interesting, and we were ready for it. Open the fridge, and it looked like a hunting lodge. Schmidt's beer wasn't just cold, it was covered in pheasants, moose, trout, and deer. Those wildlife cans made you pause. For a kid sneaking a peek, they were art. But for the grown-ups, Schmidt's was a working man's beer. Simple, reliable, and proudly American. During World War II, it found its way into soldiers' hands, partly thanks to the owner's friendship with FDR. Later in the 50s and 60s, the label changed hands, but the spirit stayed. You didn't sip Schmidt's to show off. You drank it while fixing the truck or cleaning a fish. Today, the cans are collectibles. But if you remember cracking one open, you remember a time when beer didn't need hype, just heart.
Dry, Bud Dry.
That slogan played everywhere in the late 80s and early 90s. Bud Dry was Budweiser's attempt to be different, lighter, cleaner, brewed with a dry process that gave it a crisp edge, but still kept that familiar Bud taste. You'd spot it in the fridge during football games or next to a tray of wings at someone's basement party. It never tried to be cool, just slightly smarter. Then came Bud Ice, and everything changed. Bud Dry slowly disappeared from shelves, quietly discontinued by 2010. But if you remember that metallic blue can and the first sip, sharp, smooth, a little unexpected, You remember a time when even the biggest brands were still willing to take a risk. It wasn't flashy, just a plain can, red, white, and blue, resting on a porch step beside a worn-out lawn chair. Red, white, and blue beer never claimed to be the best, but it was honest, brewed for working folks, war vets, and anyone who needed a cold one after a long day. The price was right, the taste was clean, and the name said it all. During World War II and again in the 1980s, it saw a quiet comeback, helped along by a radio ad that called it an honest beer at an honest price. That line stuck. Today, you'll rarely find it on shelves. But for those who drank it under a July sky, listening to ball games and flipping burgers, it still feels like the most American beer of all. Meister Brau was beer for people who didn't care about impressing anyone. It showed up in lunch boxes, bowling alleys, and kitchen fridges across 1960s America. Simple label, solid pour. It wasn't trying to be anything fancy, just cold, easy, and always there. But here's what most folks don't know. Meister Brau quietly made history. In the early 70s, the company ran into financial trouble, and Miller Brewing stepped in. They took Meister Brau's light beer formula, rebranded it, and launched what would become Miller Lite. Meister Brau slowly faded, its name forgotten, even as its recipe lived on. Today, you'd be hard-pressed to find a can, but if you ever drank one, you remember the taste of something that didn't need to survive to make a mark. Brown Derby wasn't flashy. It wasn't even advertised much. It was just there, on the bottom shelf at Safeway, waiting quietly in brown and gold cans. It was the kind of beer your dad grabbed while picking up hamburger buns and toilet paper. Affordable, no nonsense. Brewed by Humboldt exclusively for Safeway stores, it didn't need a big marketing push, just a loyal corner of the cart. There were no catchy jingles or neon signs, just a name folks trusted to get them through the weekend. But when Safeway began selling off stores in the late 80s, Brown Derby went with it. No farewell, no collector cans, just gone. Today it's a ghost brand, familiar only to those who remember beer as something you bought along with groceries and never thought twice about.
I love that, Jax. You know, it's never heavy, never harsh.
Jax Beer felt like something local. You didn't see it in big city bars, but you'd find it in gas station coolers, bait shops, and backyard cookouts from Florida to New Orleans. It was light, crisp, and cheap, and that was enough. In the 40s, Jax made history by being one of the first beers sold in six-packs. That little cardboard handle felt like the future. Over time, it changed hands, from Jacksonville to New Orleans, and finally to Pearl Brewing. But the farther it traveled, the fainter it became. By the early 2000s, it was gone. No send-off, no fanfare, just space on a shelf where it used to sit. And maybe, if you're lucky, a neon sign still flickering in some old bar, remembering for the rest of us. Some of these beers are long gone. Others still exist, but feel like echoes of who they used to be. Yet for many of us, just hearing the names brings back a time, a place, maybe even a person. So tell us, which forgotten beer do you still remember? Leave a comment, give this video a like, and subscribe for more trips down memory lane. We've got plenty more stories to share.